reflection, or affirmation. As part of Council's commitment to recognising the cultural and spiritual diversity of our community, the prayer, reflection, or affirmation will be shared by Councillor Dann this evening, as our representative hasn't turned up. Thank you, Councillor Dann.
Friends, as we come together this evening to consider the matters before us, let us reflect and pray on the shared words of St. Francis of Assisi. Make an instrument of your peace. Where there is hatred, let me sow love. Where there is injury, pardon. Where there is doubt, faith. Where there is despair, hope. Where there is darkness, light. Where there is sadness, joy. Peace to all.
Thank you, Councillor Dunn. Item 1.5, confirmation of minutes of previous meeting of Council held on the 25th of August 2025. Moved by Councillor Garrard and second by Councillor Yim. Are there any questions? Is there any opposition? There is no opposition. I declare the item carried. Item 1.6, disclosures of interest. Mr. Mani Vasagasavam.
Mr. Mayor, I haven't received anything so far.
Thank you, Mr. Mani Vasagasavam. 2. Officers' reports, Part 1, 2.1, documents for sealing, 2.1.1, documents for sealing.
Happy to move that, Mayor.
Trung, second by Councillor Formoso. Are there any questions? Is there any opposition? There is no opposition. I declare the item carried. Item 2.2, petitions and joint letters. 2.2.1, petitions and joint letters. Moved by Councillor Garrard.
Happy to second that, Mayor.
O'Reilly. Are there any questions? Is there any opposition? There is no opposition. I declare the item carried. Item 2.3, statutory planning applications. 2.3.1, planning delegated decisions issued August 2025. Moved by Councillor Garrard.
Happy to move that.
Second by Councillor Dann. Are there any questions? Is there any opposition? There is no opposition. I declare the item carried. Item 3, public question time. Mr. Mani Vasagasavam.
Thank you, Mayor. First question is from former Councillor Maria Sampi. It's around independent grievance process and Board of Management of Dandenong Market.
Welcome, former Councillor, former Mayor Maria Sampi. Please come to the lectern.
Can I start?
Yep, sure.
These questions are to Councillor Garrard as the councillor representative on the Dandenong Market Board. The Dandenong Market Board website lists the directors of the board but does not provide contact details for storeholders to reach the chairperson, directors or yourself in the event of a dispute with the market manager or leasing manager. Currently, there is no formal independent grievance or mediation process available to storeholders. When issues arise, storeholders can only write directly to the manager or leasing manager with no assurance that their concerns will be referred to the board. This lack of transparency and accountability leaves storeholders vulnerable to false allegations, harassment and possible victimisation. A particular concern relates to flower storeholders who were previously on 3-year licence agreements but are now being moved to month or a 1-year arrangement with no scope for negotiation. Under these conditions, it even becomes difficult for them to sell their business as potential buyers are unlikely to invest under such insecure licence terms. I acknowledge that, as the councillor representative, you cannot be involved in the day-to-day operations of the market. However, it appears the market board may not be fully aware of these issues. If the treatment of storeholders were assessed against workplace and fair trading standards, it is unlikely to be considered acceptable practice. My questions are, how can storeholders raise grievances beyond management when no clear process or or contact pathway on the website of the Dandenong Market Board exists. Will I just
You want to go
ask
through
all three and then...
Yep, that'll be easier.
Okay. 2. As the councillor representative on the Market Board, how can storeholders contact you if they require representation as you are not listed on the website of the board? 3. Will council advocate for the establishment of a transparent, independent grievance and mediation process for Dandenong Market storeholders by amending the Articles of Association?
Thank you. In first instance, I'll get Mr. Manny Vasagasam to answer them, and then I'll ask Councillor Garrard if he wants to add to it. So, Mr. Manny Vasagasam?
Well, he's not on the...
He's also on the board. Mr. Manny Vasagasam?
Thank you, Mayor. I'm happy to provide that because I'm the officer representative on the board. And also, Dandenong Market, for your first question, Dandenong Market is governed by an independent board. All operational matters are managed by the board and their management. Stallholders and the traders can contact Dandenong Market Management directly via email and the market contact phone number, which are available on the market website. In addition, there is a management office on site during the trading hours to assist stallholders and members of the public. Where there is a dispute remains, the trader wishes to pursue the matter further, the opportunity exists for the trader to lodge their disputes with the Small Business Commission Victoria for a resolution or initiate their civil action through VCAT. That's the independent review of those processes.
Thank you, Mr. Manny Vasagasam.
Can I just say that everywhere, even with this council, there is a mediation process. There isn't at the market.
Maria,
and when you complain, to the manager who is harassing and...
Maria, you've asked your questions. We're going to get you the answers, and if you want to take this up later on, Mr. Manny Vasagasam is happy to speak to you. So, Mr. Manny Vasagasam, please continue.
For your question too, stallholders and the community can contact councillors through the council's customer service, or the councillor contact details are listed on our website. But please note that lease negotiations between traders and the market management are considered commercial in confidence. Councillors and council officers cannot represent on this matter. For your question 3, council is happy to raise this matter to the market board, and the board can decide on what improvements they need to change for their processes.
They do nothing.
Thank you. Councillor Garrard, if you wanted to add to that.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Maria, for your questions. And firstly, I just want to say I share your concerns. But as Ms. Sanjay has conveyed, the role of the councillor is an observer role. It has no status. It has no status in terms of decision-making, either at governance or at operational level. Having said that, in the 11 months I've been on observing on the board, I have raised concerns about a lack of an independent and transparent complaints process, and so I do share your concern. However, as a councillor, as an observer on that, I have no actual power to make that happen. I can continue to raise it. I have raised it both with the CEO and with senior management, and I'll continue to do that. Other than that, I have no power to make that happen. But I share your concern, and I think it is a really important issue.
Thank you, Councillor Garrard, and thank you, Maria.
Thank you.
Mr. Manny Vasagasam.
The next question is from Isabella Nash from Keysborough. It's about the trees at Aussies Pool Dandenong Wellbeing Centre.
Hello, Isabella, and welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor and councillors. We, the community, only recently learnt that 43 trees that were previously earmarked for safekeeping would face destruction at the development site of the Oasis Pools. This sent shockwaves through our city and beyond, and it was even worse when we heard that 21 of the trees had already been destroyed. The remaining trees The remaining trees provide highly valued canopy cover. They are tall natives that will take at least up to 20 years to replace and therefore cannot be immediately replaced by new plantings. In this time of increased understanding of the devastating climate change heat waves that we are now undisputably facing, how can Council justify destroying these canopy trees? Would you like me to read
Read all three questions, that way. It's only a question and answer, so if you can read all three questions, then we can answer all three.
My second question. The community feel that Council is no longer working in our best interests when it comes to protecting our future against climate change, in particular heat waves. We no longer trust that Council is working towards a genuine increase in our tree canopy percentage and are absolutely shocked and heartbroken to see Council's own urban tree strategy be completely dismissed in their own developments. Is the Council aware of the self-inflicted damage it's causing to its own reputation? My third question is, the Council is unapologetically proud that these actions can be conducted without community knowledge or consideration. And while this is legal, there is a severe lack of integrity in conducting business this way, as it results in devastating long-term effects for locals. We, the community, live here, while officers escape to areas with higher tree retention and lower neighbourhood heat island effects. Where is the current and updated report that demonstrates heat island reduction value, biodiversity and ecological function of the surviving 22 trees?
Mr. Feiss.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you for your questions, Isabel. To answer your first question, the overall tree canopy will improve because of this project. So without intervention, Mills Reserve, or JC Mills Reserve, was expected to lose around 5% of its tree canopy due to the declining health and ageing of those trees. With the project's landscape plan, the reserve will instead see an estimated 35% net increase in canopy cover over the next 20 years. No trees of high or very high retention value are being removed. Of the 21 trees already removed, 4 trees had been removed by council prior to construction commencing because those trees had died. One of these trees resided in the yellow concrete collars in the main car park, which we know restricts the ability for those trees to flourish as well currently. In response to your second question around the urban tree strategy, throughout the design development of the project, council has endeavoured to reduce the number of impacted trees by the proposed new facility as well as the car parking. As mentioned, without intervention, Mills Reserve was seeing a decline in the vegetation, so we're expecting to lose 5% of that canopy. So we're looking to see how can we improve that. And that's where the landscape plan and all the additional replanting will see that increase in the long term. Prior to construction, the site had 209 trees. What we are intending to see, once the project is complete, that there'll be 309 trees in total across that site. The new trees will be planted in better soil conditions with more natural landscaping and space around them so they can be expected to flourish, which we know is a challenge and has been an issue for some of the existing trees, particularly in the car park within those existing concrete collars. Council does remain outside of this project very much committed to increasing canopy cover across Dandenong. Annually, we plant on average 20,000 tube stock of revegetation, or last year we actually hit 22,000 plants last year, which is fantastic. Our efforts also include Adopt a Park program with 4,000 trees and shrubs, and the Green Wedge plant giveaways with 3,500 trees and shrubs as well. We have National Tree Day, where we have 6,000 trees, shrubs and ground covers, and environmental education community plant giveaways with 7,000 plants as well. So there is a commitment there, obviously, to continue greening Dandenong. With question 3, in relation to the process around the tree removal, the project has had a rigorous and transparent planning process, including multiple rounds of community consultation, design, refinement and council approvals over a 4-year period. You can find more details on the process, including a timeline on Council's webpage for the Dandenong Wellbeing Centre. And in terms of the details behind that, the 43 trees being removed will be replaced with 143 trees, 90 indoor plants and 25,000 shrubs and ground covers as well. So the new tree planting, along with the understory vegetation and the retention of the existing trees on site, we anticipate there will be a net increase in biodiversity following completion of the project. Thank you.
Thank
Can
you.
I just get
Mr.
some
Feist.
clarity?
Thank you. You've asked the questions.
I'm asking for clarity.
All right, I'll allow that
I
for this
just
time.
wanted to ask about the 5%.
I was just going to say that Mr. Feist is available after the meeting, but I'll ask you to clarify something very shortly. Okay, I'll allow that.
Yeah, so I just, you lost me on 5% of the trees were going to be cut down?
No, so thank you for your
Feist.
follow-up question. I'm more than happy to talk about it as well outside of this meeting. So the decline of the existing vegetation on site. So whenever we embark on any project, there's a whole range of due diligence done and assessments that look at the vegetation itself, biodiversity, and particularly over a number of years, there was a number of assessments carried out on this project. And what those assessments showed that there was a declining health of a large number of the trees within that particular site. The majority of those related to the car park specifically, where you can see there's some trees there that are effectively they were planted inside a concrete collar. So effectively it almost restricts growth. So you can see that there's trees around the site that have that high or very high retention value that council's retained on the project, which is fantastic. You can see them flourishing. They're probably about 2.5 times the size of the ones that are in the concrete collars. And those ones we can see that there is a decline. So the assessment we had from the independent arborist is in terms of the life of those trees, effectively the lifespan could be anywhere from sort of 1 to 5 years. So the existing health of some of those trees are in decline, they're of low value, so we're looking at that going, well, what can we do to kind of help create conditions that will allow new vegetation to flourish within the site?
Thank you, Mr. Feist. Thank you, Isabel.
Thank you.
Mr. Manivasigasov.
Yes, the next question is from Gay Guest regarding the trees. So I'll be reading that question. So in regards to the situation around the existing targeted OSIS trees, which needs to be kept, the best inheritance isn't gold, it's green. We need to plant and grow trees to a significant height for a thriving tomorrow, not cut down like the significant heritage Noble Park RSL Lone Pine Tree or Noble Park's Sentinel Remnant River Red Gums for the partly price tag. The native giant is more than a tree. It is a home for generations. It shelters life, holds wisdom and guards and land, yet it appears to be no one in the council, officers or councillors want to protect them. We would have appreciated a transparent, more recent arborist report, not one that is outdated from 2020, 5 years ago. We must turn wasteland into a wonderland of trees. Plant land is planting hope for future one we need to protect and nurture for future generations. We need to safeguard our planet's lungs and water. It is blood. Protect both or life stops breathing. No intervention can replace them. Our future depends on adequate tree canopy coverage, which is nowhere near 15% in CGD. As it exactly 2 years since our heatwave forum at the Drum, with little protective arbitration since resolve heatwave, climate change effects of rainfall and food security in our food bowl, green wedges or our wider municipality. Question number 1. What is the age of these 22 oasis trees presently? Question number 2. What is the value of 22 trees still standing on the site? Question number 3. What is the cost of replacing 22 trees and nurturing them to the same age and same status as the existing 22 trees on site? We have read what was published in the papers and we are outraged.
Mr. Feist.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you for your question, Gay. And I might have just touched on this a little bit in clarifying Isabel's questions as well. So with question 1, a number of arborists biodiversity and construction impact assessments have been completed over a 4-year period, most recently in December 2024, which is detailed on Council's webpage for the Dandenong Wellbeing Centre. So the recent assessments showed a general decline in tree health, particularly with the trees located within the concrete collars, as I mentioned earlier, particularly within the Oasis car park. These are approximately 30 years old, those trees. And when the trees were planted in the concrete collars, compared to other trees of the same species on the site, planted around the same time, it's become even more apparent that their growth has been underwhelming. The arborist report shows the height and diameter of those trees planted in natural grounds at around the same time is approximately 2 times that of those confined to the concrete collars. For question 2, in regards to the value of the trees, so from the outset, whenever we plan or design any type of works, the design is aimed to retain as many mature trees as possible, so especially those with high or very high retention value. So of the 22 trees to be removed, or that have been removed, none are of high or high retention value. And for question 3, around the cost, as I mentioned a bit earlier, the majority of the remaining trees have a life expectancy of about 1 to 5 years, based on the arborist's assessment. So council cannot cost the declining trees. However, the new trees that will be planted in better soil conditions with natural landscaping and space around them, as I previously mentioned, is then intended for that new vegetation to flourish. So council will plant 143 new trees, 90 indoor plants and 25,000 shrubs and ground covers as part of the project. Touched on it earlier as well, that the new tree planting and understory vegetation, along with the retention of the existing vegetation on site, and particularly that high and very high retention value vegetation, we anticipate to see a net increase in biodiversity following completion of the Dandenong Wellbeing Centre. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Feist, and thank you for your questions, gang. Thank you, Mr. Manivasagasavan.
That concludes the public question time.
Thank you. Councillors, will move on to item 4, Officers' Reports, Part 2, 4.1, Procurement, 4.1.1, Contract number 2425/24, Supply, Installation and Maintenance of Parking Meters. Moved by Councillor Garrard, second by Councillor Dann. Are there any questions? Councillor Garrard.
Thank you, Mayor. My question to the relevant officer is regarding data security. Who actually will own the payment and usage data from these meters, and what are the safeguards the council will put in place regarding cyber security? I have a second question. Do you want me to ask it now? Or yep. Just around equity, given that we have the highest cash payment users in the City of Greater Dandenong, how will the council guarantee that they will have equity in relation to accessing cash meters?
Mr. Feist.
Thank you for your questions, Councillor Garrard. With regards to cybersecurity, that's actually one of the drivers around the need for our parking meters to be upgraded. So we know with the current parking meters that we do have, there's not support offered and available to those meters currently that exist. And that support does relate to card readers and issues with data and security. So that is actually one of the drivers as to why there's a need for those parking meters to be upgraded. You touched on with your second question around the cash payment. There was some really good feedback, I thought, from councillors around when the parking meters were proposed, around the types of payment options available to the community. So understanding that there's vulnerable members of the community or those that might not necessarily have access to the technology that's there as well. So part of what's proposed as part of this contract is making sure that there's all options there for Dandenong residents. So from cash to tap and go, as well as pay by app as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Feist. Any further questions, councillors? Is there any opposition? If there is no opposition, I declare the item carried. I will move on to item 4.1.2, contract number 2021/49, Electronic Monitoring and Mobile Security Services Contract Extension Final. Moved by Councillor Garrard, second by Councillor Dann. Are there any questions? Is there any opposition? If there is no opposition, I declare the item carried. Item 4.2, Finance and Budget. 4.2.1, June 2025 Financial Report Interim Results. Moved by Councillor Garrard. Second by Councillor Dann. Are there any questions? Is there any opposition? There is no opposition. I declare the item carried. Item 4.2.2, 2024 to 25 Annual Financial Statement. Before I ask a mover and a seconder, I would just like to make a brief comment. Council achieved a surplus operating result of $30.9 million, a reflection of our responsible financial management and our ongoing commitment to delivering value for our community. Over $60 million was invested in renewing and upgrading Council's infrastructure, including new community facilities, recreation spaces, roads and footpaths. Of particular note is the commencement of the replacement of Dandenong Oasis, a once-in-a-generation investment that will become a cornerstone of our community health and well-being. We also celebrated the completion of the Keysborough Community Hub, delivered on time and under budget. These achievements are the result of the dedication and hard work of our council and staff. I extend my congratulations to everyone involved in delivering such a positive outcomes for our community. I have a mover and seconder, councillors. Councillor Garrard, mover. Second.
Happy to second that, Mayor.
Councillor Formoso. Are there any questions? Is there any opposition? There is no opposition. The item is carried. And Ms Hanson, can you please pass our thanks to all the team? Thank you. We'll move on to 4.3, 4.3.1. S6 Instrument of Delegation by Council to Members of Council, Staff, and S18 Instrument of Sub-Delegation under the Environment Protection Act 2017. Do we have a mover? Councillor Garrard. Second by Councillor Dann. Are there any questions? Is there any opposition? There is no opposition. I declare the item carried. Item 4.3.2, Audit and Risk Committee, Appointment of Chair. Moved by Councillor Garrard, second by Councillor Yim. Are there any questions? Councillor Garrard.
Thank you, Mayor. My question relates to the appointment of a new auditor to replace Mr. Harvey. Can the relevant officer explain when that process will commence of recruiting a new audit officer and how that process will go forward in terms of how we will recruit and how we will ensure that the new auditor that we do recruit is reflective of the diversity within our community?
Ms. Hajari.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Garrard, for your question. As you are aware, the resignation of Mr. Jeff Harry came as a sudden to us, so we definitely will commence the process and looking at the charter very quickly. So it is our immediate kind of action. So very happy to, when we look at the process, confirm with you exact dates and the process. But as you know, it is very urgent and immediate action. In terms of the, you mentioned that is exactly right. We wanted to make sure that we go through the thorough process. But as I think we had the similar examples of having the board members for SEL and also for the market. So we have gone through the very thorough process, and I believe that we have been successful of having right people for such kind of the committees. We make sure that we follow the process to make sure it is a very comprehensive process, and whoever take the job can really understand the context of the Greater Dandenong as your concern is.
Thank you, Councillor Ms. Ajari. Any further questions? Is there any opposition? There is no opposition. I declare the item carried. Councillor Garrard.
Mayor, I'd like to take the opportunity to thank Mr Jeff Harvey for his dedicated service to the Audit and Risk Committee over the past 6 years. You and I know, having sat on that committee for many years, that he has been instrumental in improving the standard across the organisation in terms of governance and oversight, and he has been incredibly dedicated in what he has done. We are sorry to see him leave, and we wish him well going forward.
Thank you, Councillor Garrard. Yes, as both of me and you sit on that, it's very draining. It's a 4-hour meeting, and it's always good to be there as well with you. But I too also, on behalf of the council, I'd like to thank Mr Jeff Harry for his outstanding leadership and dedication as Chair of the Audit and Risk Committee since his appointment to the committee in 2017, and particular for his time as Interim Chair in August 2021. Through to his appointment as Chair, Mr Harry's expertise and guidance has been invaluable in strengthening our governance and ensuring accountability across the organisation. His commitment has left a lasting legacy for Council, one that we will continue to build upon. I have often heard from both our current CEO, Jackie Wetherill, and our previous CEO, John Benny, how highly they valued Mr Harry's advice, the way he conducted meetings, and his generosity in sharing his insights. We are truly grateful for Mr Harry's contribution and extend our best wishes for his future. Councillors, will move on to the next item, 4.3.3, Back Your Neighbour, Canberra and Sydney Advocacy. Moved by Councillor Doe, second by Councillor Garrard. Are there any questions? Is there any opposition? If there is no opposition, I declare the item carried. As the person that Council sent to Canberra, we had a delegation of 3 mayors and a couple of council officers. The Mayor of Maribyrnong and the Mayor of Brimbank accompanied me. We had a council officer from Dandenong and a council officer from Maribyrnong. We attended 13 meetings with federal members of parliament in those 2 days, and then on the third day we went to Sydney, where I met with 7 different councils, 7 different mayors, and I was also invited to the City Lord Mayor's function, where I had an opportunity to meet with all the capital city mayors in Sydney, which Clover Moore hosted. So all in all, we've still got a lot of work ahead of us. We've got over 40 councils on board. We've got about 40 different community groups also on board, which makes about 80. We continue to advocate to the federal government to support people who are seeking refugee and also asylum seekers. And this council has led from the front for many years, and we'll continue to work hard to support our local community. We'll move on to the next item, 4.3.4, New Cultural Heritage Advisory Committee members. Moved by Councillor Garrard, second by Councillor Dann. Are there any questions? Is there any opposition? If there is no opposition, I declare the item carried. Councillor Garrard.
Mayor, I'd just like to take the opportunity to thank the 4 new members for joining the committee and for dedicating their time. Elise Jordan, apologies if my pronunciation's not right, Ying Chang Ying, Grizel Warmanga, and Jayandi D. Silva.
Thank you, Councillor Garrard. Item 4.3.5, reports on matters discussed at councillor briefing sessions and pre-council meetings. Moved by Councillor Dann, second by Councillor Yim. Are there any questions? Is there any opposition? If there is no opposition, I declare the item carried. 4.3.6, list of registered correspondence to the Mayor and councillors. Moved by Councillor Trung, second by Councillor Garrard. Are there any questions? Is there any opposition? There is no opposition. I declare the item carried. Item 5, notices of motion. 5.1, notice of motion. Number 11, hate has no home, standing in solidarity with our community. Moved by Councillor Dann. Second by Councillor Garrard. Are there any questions? Is there any opposition? There is no opposition. I declare the item carried. Councillor Dann.
Thank you very much, Mayor. Since we last met, we've all seen the events of 31 August on the TV and on the news, which has caused immense stress to many in our community. What we witnessed across several Australian cities that afternoon was not just a protest, but a coordinated and deliberate display of hate and extremism. It was a direct attack on the very values that bring all of us together. I can't speak on behalf of everyone in this chamber tonight, but I can confidently say that this was also an attack on all of our communities that we all represent across Greater Dandenong. We hear this a lot, that Greater Dandenong is proudly home to over 150 different cultures and countries, speaking more than 200 different languages. It's a community that takes real pride in its Australian identity, in the hard work of everyday people who contribute to our local economies, care for their families, and to strengthen the social fabric of our country. We hear this a lot, not just because it's true, but it's also because it's something that we are really proud of. I know that for many in our community, these events have caused great fear and distress. Some are afraid because of the colour of their skin, the languages that they speak, or the faith that they follow. The demonstrations on 31 August don't represent Australia. What represents Australia is what we see every day here in Greater Dandenong and across the country. The events of 31st of August is not the real March for Australia. To me, the real March for Australia happens every day and everywhere. It's when millions wake up early to go to work so that they can build a better future for their families and to contribute to Australia's economy. It happens just this weekend in my ward at Ross Reserve, where hundreds and hundreds flocked to the Noble Park Family Fun Day. That was full of colour, vibrance and diversity. That's the Australia I know, and that's the Australia I'm proud of. As elected community leaders, we have that responsibility to stand up in moments like this, to say very clearly and very directly that we will not tolerate hate. We will not allow for our communities to be divided, to feel fear. This motion is a reflection of those values. It's a message to our community that we see you, we hear you, we are with you today, tomorrow, and every day. Compassion, inclusion, and solidarity are not signs of weakness, they're signs of strength. They're the foundations of a strong, united, and resilient multicultural Australia, and I thank the Council for moving this unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Dann. Councillor Garrard.
Thank you, Mayor. I would like to also speak in support of this motion and thank Councillor Dan for raising this. I think it's a critical moment in time. We're seeing the rise of Nazism and authoritarian regimes across the world, unfortunately even in the US, which is terrifying. But I do want to raise what happened at that particular march on Camp Sovereignty, which is a First Nations base on that day. 50 angry men dressed in black attacked our First Nations people, unprovoked attack, stormed the site with sticks and poles, assaulting women, elders, breaking bones and causing people to be hospitalised. This is absolutely unacceptable. It was not random, it was deliberate, it was known, and questions still remain about why a Nazi organised march was allowed to proceed in our city. And also why our envoy for anti-Semitism, who's being paid over $1 million a year, has not spoken one word against this, which is incredibly surprising. It's a dangerous time. We see our democracy right now under great threat, and events like this, which encourage hate and division and violence, must at all times by everybody be condemned, and we must all stand strong together and fight for our democracy, which is unfortunately under great threat. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Garrard. Councillors, we'll move on to the next item, 5.2, Notice of Motion Number 12, Dandenong Wellbeing Centre Trees. Moved by Councillor Doe. Second by Councillor Garrard. Are there any questions? Councillor O'Reilly.
Thank you, Mayor. I've got three questions. Did one at a time or three?
You can go one at a time.
One at a time. Okay. First question is, looking at this motion, what would the Dandenong Wellbeing Centre, what would be the design impact of keeping the remaining trees as called for in the motion?
Mr. Feiss.
Thank you for your question, Councillor O'Reilly. Sorry, can you just repeat that? What was the design impact?
Yeah. So what would so if this motion was approved by council, what would the design impact to the current design be in order to keep the trees?
Yeah, thank you for your question. In terms of design impact, so the way the proposed Dandenong Wellbeing Centre is laid out is obviously with the main building facility and the car park. So if there was a proposal to change that at all in terms of a design impact, it potentially would mean that the car park itself would need to be redesigned. So there's potential for delay costs, as well as then seeing, well, how could that car park function in terms of vehicle turning movements and how they navigate through that car park. And I touched on it with the questions a bit earlier today around the particular trees within that car park that we'd be seeking to protect. So typically the ones in the concrete collars, which have the low retention value, or the independent arborist advice that we've received saying have a lifespan of 1 to 5 years. So design impact would be cost, significant impact to time. We do want to see more vegetation flourish. And I will just note as well that that the timelines for the project and what we're working to are very much driven by federal government grant or contribution as well. So there would be delays in the process and potentially not meeting the grant contribution deadlines of June 2027.
Thank you, Mr. Feiss. Councillor O'Reilly.
Yeah. Thank you, Matt. Yeah, I think it covered some points, but just to make it, just so I'm absolutely clear, can I get a response as to what sort of range, or as far as the cost and delays to the current contract in train, what would the estimate of that be? So range of how much additional cost it would add to the contract, and in round numbers, what would be the additional delay? If the Dandenong Wellbeing Centre if the car park had to be redesigned, and etc. etc.
Mr. Feiss.
Yeah, thank you for your question. So to clarify, with any redesign, it would be in the order of hundreds of thousands of dollars. With a construction site of this size, it's very different to a typical project I'd say we work on at council because of the amount of people on site. If there was any delay or delay cost passed on, or if works had to stop, that's in the order of tens of thousands of dollars a day per delay. So quite high costs. Yeah, so that's the cost implications.
Thank you, Mr. Feiss. Councillor O'Reilly. Any further questions, councillors? Is there any opposition? Councillor O'Reilly in opposition. Councillor Doe.
Thank you, Mayor. So I rise tonight to speak in support of my notice of motion regarding the tree removal at the Dandenong Wellbeing site. Wellbeing Centre site. To give background, I was not actually able to find any explicit mention of the 43 tree removals to the new council prior to late August. The 2022 slides I found regarding the Dandenong Wellbeing Centre indicated design principles that implied tree retention, not removal, with no explicit mention of actually any tree removal at all. In the February briefing this year, councils were told 209 trees were assessed with a summarised arborist report in a one-page slide, but there was no mention of any proposed removals made in this briefing. And the impact assessment from that briefing was actually only shared just recently as well. It was actually only late in August, early September, that council was actually briefed to councillors that 43 trees would require removal, with one already being removed due to it already being dead. Valid. But it was also revealed this month that 23 trees had already been removed since May. And this was not at all mentioned in any of the initial conversation with us, councillors. And I find it extremely interesting that the slated tree removal dates for the remaining trees that were slated to be removed was initially provided to us as occurring in early 2026 and now has been changed to Q4 this year. So the sudden acceleration of timeline without really any explanation, I find quite curious. The retention value also being applied to these trees and classifying some of them as a low retention value does not include a framework which accounts for biodiversity or ecological function. Cutting down canopy trees, in my opinion, really should be a last resort, as their loss cannot be quickly or easily replaced. In fact, by council's own reports, it will take upwards of that 5 years for that canopy coverage to return to its state prior to the construction of the Dandenong Wellbeing Centre. The recently released National Climate Risk Assessment by the Australian Climate Service is Australia's first comprehensive national comprehensive analysis on how climate change could affect the systems we rely on. And this report actually stated that Australia has already experienced dangerous levels of warming, with cities like Melbourne projected to see a 260% increase in heat-related deaths under a 3-degree scenario. Outer urban areas such as Dandenong are especially vulnerable due to our demographic and our infrastructure factors. Canopy trees provide immediate cooling, shade, and air benefits that cannot be replicated by new plantings, as I mentioned, for upwards of 5 years. And these trees do provide immediate canopy, shade, and habitat. And again, remember, with new plantings, they will take years to establish. So their retention can actually be a relatively low-cost, high-impact climate adaptation measure that actually aligns with national recommendations for nature-based solutions and urban resilience. Greater Dandenong's own urban tree strategy highlights the importance of canopy trees in delivering economic, social, and environmental benefits, again, including shade, streetscape amenity, air pollution reduction, habitat for wildlife, and again, climate resilience. I want to thank all the attendees today who showed their support for their motion. I would also like to note that we have received well over 200 signatures to retain as many of the trees at the Dandenong Wellbeing Centre, despite this issue only being known to councillors and the general public in late August. My motion seeks to preserve as many of the remaining 22 trees at the Dandenong Wellbeing Centre as a practical and precautionary response to escalating climate risk, while allowing for future removals if absolutely necessary. I'd also like to clarify that this motion is requesting for options to retain each tree. I'm not proposing for a redesign or delay. I'm simply asking for what the options are to retain each of the tree. I'd also like to note that my notice of motion again was based on the fact that I was initially told that the remaining trees would be removed early next year, which again has been suddenly amended to later this year instead of early next year. And again, something that can be explored by officers is to retain the trees that are already planned to be
30
replaced in the
seconds.
same location. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Doe. Councillor Garrard.
Thank you, Mayor, and I thank Councillor Doe for putting up this motion. Mature trees are not a luxury. We all know that they are life-saving, cost-saving, climate protective. To remove them, we are told is costly, but in fact, the reverse is true, because to replace all of what they provide to us is in fact more costly. So it is about cost upfront versus longer term costs. So we know that Dandenong ranks as the most vulnerable LGA in terms of heat, as has been said, due to the residents that we have, due to the buildings that we have, due to the lack of canopy cover that we have. We are at the highest level of vulnerability, and that is only going to remain that way while we keep pulling down mature trees at the rate at which we are. Councillor Doe made a great point that this should be a priority, and that we then plan around the tree. The first priority should be retaining those trees because they are protective in terms of health, in terms of biodiversity, and in terms of It's incredibly important that we see trees in terms of assets, not as nuisances that get in the way of a pretty design. We are told that we will plant an equivalent number or more trees. We know that it will take between 5 and 20 years for the trees that are planted to provide the equivalent level of safety that we currently have. That is unacceptable. We have the trees here now, and I do note the officer said that we are reliant on the grant from federal government to have commenced the build. We have commenced the build, therefore that grant is not in jeopardy. So I just want to take that off the table right now. And as Councillor Doe said, we're not asking for a full redesign. We're asking, tell us how we can save these really important trees with the least amount of effort and the least amount of redesign, because our community understand how important they are. We understand how important they are, and we understand that it is greater than just cost value per se. It is all of the health and protective things that these trees provide for us. So it's not a big ask. It's a very small ask. It's not costing a lot. We're asking for a report to come back to us as soon as possible. We are simply asking for the council to spend some time on a critical job of doing what they can to retain these trees, because anything you replace will never be equivalent to what these extraordinary trees are. And also, let's talk about their aesthetic value. They are beautiful. They create a beautiful space. Nothing we will replace in our lifetime will be as aesthetically pleasing or
30 seconds.
So it's critical that we undertake this, not a big ask. And I think that it'd do well for the council to listen to the councillors who love these trees and are begging them, simply take a break, take a breather, have a think, come back with a few options. That's all we're asking.
Thank you, Councillor Garrard. In opposition, Councillor O'Reilly.
Thank you, Mayor. So I've heard the proponents' arguments, and like some of them were about half the arguments were for this specific proposal. The other half were sort of generally about the value of canopy cover, which I think we all agree with, Mayor, but what we're deciding is a specific proposal which has specific ramifications, and very important ramifications, which I'll go through. Now that the trees flagged for removal are overwhelmingly of low value, poor health. They're in concrete collars, so the proponents are happy for trees to be restrained in their concrete collars ongoing, rather than being replaced with 143 new trees, 90 indoor plants, 25,000 shrubs, a total of 309 trees on the site, so nearly 50% more than before. And as acknowledged by the proponents of this motion, the canopy cover will recover in 5 years. So if there's this notion that you build a whole new wellbeing centre which has sustainability and lifestyle benefits in itself, but you can't take out one tree. So how is the design going to work? Would be a bunch of squiggles on paper that would be absolutely unworkable, Mayor. Like this idea that no tree can be touched in the city of Greater Dandenong, right? Don't touch is just unrealistic, impractical, and would lead to no progress, including as far as sustainability goes, at all, Mayor. So we've heard from the officers too that any delays to this project can cost $20,000 a day. We could potentially lose $20 million of federal funding. And just to correct Councillor Garrard, that it's actually funded based on the completion, not the commencement of the project, Mayor. So I think my advice to sustainability advocates, that are well intentioned is don't think short term, think long term. You actually do yourselves a disservice by saying that no tree can be removed in the city of Greater Dandenong, because it doesn't work. It just does not work practically. So, if we are sustainable as we have been, we've increased canopy cover in the municipality by around about 50% in the last 5 years through sensible, balanced decisions, then in summary, Mayor, we should see the wood for the trees and make a balanced decision to move ahead with more new trees and all the benefits that provides. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor O'Reilly. Any further speakers? Councillor Dunn.
Thank you very much, Mayor. I also oppose this motion tonight, and I just wanted to make an extra comment in addition to Councillor O'Reilly's comments tonight, and that my main argument against this motion is the issue of duplication. The motion asks officers to prepare a new report on the remaining trees, outlining retention options and design integration. But in my view, Mayor, this work has already been done. We've had arborists engaged for several years. We've had multiple vegetation assessments. We've had a tree protection management plan that was developed, and that same plan has also been implemented. We've had independent design reviews. We've had the local advisory group briefed multiple times in addition to that. And we've also have been provided with information that specifically addressed the vegetation impacts. I believe that to ask officers to now revisit these same trees, to remap them, to reassess the feasibility, to reconsider design integration is inefficient and a poor use of ratepayer resources. The motion calls for a precautionary approach and transparency, which none of us disputes. But for a project as large as this one, it could not be feasible in the first place without these approaches and considerations taken place. Tree removals have been based on arborist advice and risk assessments. Planning permits were sought and there has been input from the department. And the landscape plan already commits to replacement planting, which exceeds the canopy coverage targets, which Councillor O'Reilly has touched on. So therefore, for the reasons of duplication on top of what Councillor O'Reilly has touched on, I can't support the motion, and I would urge my fellow councillors to vote against what is a well-meaning motion so that we can continue progressing towards building a wellbeing centre whose legacy and impact will outlive all of us here tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Dunn. Any further speakers, councillors?
Mayor, if I could.
Councillor Formoso.
Thank you. I wasn't going to add anything further because I think Councillor Dunn and Councillor O'Reilly articulated it quite well, but I did want to rebut some of the commentary in regards to the fact that there was no public consultation and that no one knew about it. We've been planning this project for numerous years. We've had multiple, I believe 2 to 3 public consultations on this matter. We're well aware of what was involved, and the fact that we're even having this debate is a little bit concerning, but nonetheless, I'll entertain the notion and would really like to thank our officers and all the work that's been done in terms of not only building this incredible life-changing facility, but also retaining as many trees as we can, and also keeping in mind that we're going to have thousands of trees and plants in this location that we didn't have before. Our team is doing an incredible amount of work to increase our tree canopy coverage, and we are doing an immaculate job thus far, increasing it by 6 to 7%. Majority of municipalities are planting around 1,000 to 1,500 trees a year. We're tripling that as a municipality. So I wanted to take note and really champion that and thank our team for the incredible work that they do, because we are doing a really good job in this space, and I'd like to think that I'm a huge supporter of trees, and I think that this work that we're doing at this stage is incredible, and I'd like to thank everyone involved, and thank you for Councillor O'Reilly for making sense of a nonsensical motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Formosa. Any further speakers, councillors? If there's no further speakers, a right of reply, Councillor Doe.
Thank you. So from my perspective, councillors were really not made aware of the full extent of the tree removals. I understand that our consultation process has gone through public consultation. The previous council was involved in it, but again, from what I can find, I do not believe that this explicit removal of these 43 trees was ever mentioned prior to August. The argument that the redesign would cause delays and cost overruns is, in my opinion, speculative on the basis that my notice of motion seeks to find alternates, not necessarily requiring a redesign to retain the trees, so that can always be explored. There was that option in that notice of motion. And I'd like to reiterate that the low value or replacements of these trees is purely based on amenity, so nothing about habitat value or microclimate regulation. In addition, Councillor O'Reilly mentioned the trees and the concrete collars. If the trees are going to be replaced anyway in that exact spot, why not leave them in place and monitor their health during construction? Exploring options like root collar excavation. So removing those concrete collars can actually significantly improve the tree health and longevity of them. So this approach does not actually necessarily require design changes. And as Councillor Garrard mentioned, if they survive, council saves on having to replant them. And if they don't, removal can proceed as originally planned. I'd also like to mention that quantity does not equal quality, as many of you are aware. Mature trees do provide immediate ecological benefits that these saplings will take 5 to 20 years to match. So it is a waiting game. We must also consider biodiversity, not just tree canopy metrics. Planting conditions often require planting 2 or 3 new trees for every one removed. As you can see, we did have the argument is that we are planting more. And it sounds great on paper because we're planting all these extra trees. But also noting that the trees that do end up surviving, again, there is a percentage of trees that will be lost. It'll take years to match that ecological, cooling and water management benefits of the trees that they are replacing now. So to put it simply, planting is no substitution for retention. My understanding is also, again, is that these trees are already within the planned car park area and are being directly replaced. So retaining them temporarily does not necessarily compromise on access or layout. Again, these trees will help shade the area, reduce heat and improve amenity immediately. And this design principle originally included in the MPAG slides in 2022 actually talked about this as well. Not directly, but that's why there was an importance put on keeping the trees. Alternatively, let's wait the 5 to 20 years that we need to wait for our trees to plant this. That's basically if I was having a baby and waiting for my baby to grow up and I'm like, yeah, we've got our trees back. So again, we've already proved the design is the argument that's being made, but approval doesn't necessarily mean that we can't adapt based on this new information that councils were provided, especially when the full arborist impact assessment was only recently given to councils. As mentioned, the MPAG slides from 2022 that I found, again, committed to minimising the impact on these existing trees and using canopy for shading, and we just want to uphold these principles. Removing them just necessarily for construction efficiency, look, from my perspective, convenience should not override environmental stewardship. Mature trees are living infrastructure. They cool, clean, protect and support biodiversity right now. Removing them is premature. It's a net loss for our community. And while the footprint may be fixed, the implementation choices we make can still matter. So we can explore retention options rather than just throwing the baby out with the bathwater. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Doe. All those councillors in favour of the motion, please raise your hand. Councillor Doe, Councillor Garrard. All those in opposition, Councillor Dunn, Councillor Yim, Councillor Amiti, Councillor Riley, Councillor Lair, Councillor Trung and Councillor Formoso. Notice of motion number 12 is lost. 2 to 7. We'll move on to the next item, councillors. Item 6, reports from councillors, delegated members and councillor questions. Councillor Trung.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I attend the community celebration for the Keysborough Community Hub with the MPs, Mayor, Deputy Mayor, and also all the councillors. On 6th of September 25th, with Mayor and councillor, I attend the Golden Jubilee Onam Festival at the Srinvale Town Hall, which organized by the Malayali Association in Victoria. That's it.
Thank you, Councillor Trung. Councillor Len.
Thank you, Mayor. I have some events to attend from the last 3 weeks. The first event is Keysborough Community celebrate. Grand opening in Keysborough Community Hub, 7th of September. Lots of our city referendum there, and I'm so happy with the communities built up so beautiful, and a lot of things design. I so enjoy it, and I so say beautiful, and they separate to one side for the community, one side for the child care. It's really good for command nails. And the other one is second in Hoa Nghiêm Temple. They have a celebrate for the parents anniversary for they rememberize for the parents. Everyone have the parents to pay respect for them. Every year they got the month for rememberize for the parents. And the third one is Father Day, hosted from Vietnamese Australian Senior Association. They call Vasavik. Some people there, Mayor and Sophie Tan, May, and MP Eden Foster. So it's really good for everyone to join with the senior there. The fourth one is Từ Ân Temple. They celebrate the parents' ceremony as well. And the last one, just yesterday, the day before, on Saturday, a Lantern Festival for the children. That is the first time for for Vietnamese community in Australia to organize in Springvale Shopping Centre. The organizers say thank you to all of you in the officer in Dandenong here to support them for the grant funding for the community there is multicultural. So it's really good event for over 20,000 people to come and over 5,000 children to come to give the package of gift. It's really good. A lot of feedback there. They would like to do every year for the children around there. And then the last question is for someone because they would like to asking about public toilet because the last minutes for the event, organizations tell me they have to hire for the public toilet for over budget about over 4,000 to 5,000 for high public toilet because we can't use public toilet in the multi-level car park in Springvale Central because they give the reason for they have to maintain. If something wrong with the public toilet there, they have to pay for the money for the fixing something. So that is the reason give out for the organization. They think it is not reasonable. So that's why they would like to next time, if public toilet to build there, they have to use for the public event as well. That's it. They wish to require for that. If next time. That's it.
Mr. Feiss or Miss Gillies? Ms. Gillies.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you very much for your question, and I would invite Mr Feist to jump in as well. In terms of community festivals and events, there's very clear guidelines, and if you wanted to jump in from an environmental health perspective, in terms of what community infrastructure is required, and it's very much based on the number of people that are attending events. So for certain sizes of events, there's certain requirements for the groups to be able to obtain their permits, and things like toilets and amenities are very specific in terms of, based on the volume of people expected to attend an event, there's a certain number of ablution blocks, for example, that have to be available on site to those members of the public. So that's actually dictated to us, I guess, is the words I would use in terms of the event permit that we issue. I don't know if you wanted to add something further.
No, thank you, Ms. Gillies. No, nothing further. Correct. So, depending on the size of the event and what's required, that'll determine sort of the facilities that are provided for the community. So, regardless if it's an event, the same actually even applies to our buildings, where depending on the number of people that come to an area or a place of assembly, there's all these requirements on the type of facilities that we need to provide, particularly for toilet facilities. So, unfortunately, it's something that we need to provide for both events as well as our permanent facilities as well.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Lee. Councillor O'Reilly.
Thank you. Now, I attended a few events, but probably other councillors will mention them, so I won't go over those. But I just had a question without notice that came up, and I was just interested in council's policy when investigating a complaint from a resident against another resident. Do we have a policy of not disclosing the original reporter of the complaint to the person that's the subject of the complaint, or because a specific example was relayed to me where the officer went to speak firstly to the resident that had complained, and then went directly to their next door neighbour who was the subject of the complaint. I understand there's, practical considerations with this, but I just wanted to clarify with council if we had any sort of regular, any sort of practice guidelines on how that sort of situation is handled. Thank you, Mayor. It's a question without notice, so...
Ms Gillies.
Through you, Mayor, and thank you for your question, Councillor O'Reilly. Depending on specifically what it relates to, it could actually fit with governance or myself. If it is something along the lines of, for example, our local laws, so if I was to use an example, and I don't know the case, but certainly happy to look into it specifically for you, but things like, for example, if we have a noise diary submitted from a nuisance dog or a barking dog, we gather specific evidence that we require. We then will go and have a conversation with the owners of the dog at the residence. Those conversations we speak to the complainant prior to having any conversations, and what we do is we speak to the evidence that we've got more so than individual people. So if there's something, if it does relate to a local laws type matter along those lines, I'd certainly be keen to understand it in more detail. If it's not local laws related, I don't know if that's something governance want to pick up from a privacy perspective.
Ms Sajari, you want to add to that?
Through you, Mayor, but just agree with Ms. Gillies that is depending on what exactly, if you are comfortable, Councillor O'Reilly, to share with us the case so we can see that which one is exists in which areas, because also it's about the residents and the complaint from residents that we receive through our customer service. Also, we have the policies and procedures around how we handle the complaints as well.
Thank you, Mr. Jari. Councillor O'Reilly.
Thank you, Matt. No, I didn't think the specific case had to be looked into because, in my view, it's hard to avoid, sometimes the subject of the complaint not knowing who actually complained because it's sort of obvious. But I just wanted to know if there was any general practice guidelines like if we had some sort of policy or anything like that. But I mean, I think the question's been answered, Mayor, so I can leave it there. Thank you. That's all from me.
Did you want to add something, Mr. Jari?
Through you, Mayor. And probably, Councillor O'Reilly, if your concern is more around the privacy, yes, we have a very clear policies and processes around the privacy. I can confirm with you that in any cases, if the case that Ms. Gill is mentioned or anything around the customer service, definitely is all applied the privacy and confidentiality, that we take it very seriously. I can confirm you with that.
Thank you, Mr. Jari. Thank you, Councillor O'Reilly. Councillor Yim.
Thank you, Mayor. On Saturday, the 6th of September, I attended the opening of the Keysborough Community Hub with many of my fellow councillors here tonight. The Keysborough Community Hub will provide many support services such as maternal and child health, early years education, meeting spaces, and its very own library. It represents a long-term investment in creating stronger neighbourhood ties, encouraging participation, and ensuring that residents of all ages have the opportunity to engage and feel supported. It was great to be part of an opening of a space that I'm sure will have a positive impact to our community. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Yim. Councillor Garrard.
Thank you, Mayor. On the weekend, I had the privilege of attending the inauguration of the Durga Puja celebration on your behalf, which was a fantastic event put on by the Aurora Bengali Association. A year's worth of effort put into that, of kids practicing very complex steps and dressing up beautifully. It was a really lovely community event, and I commend the organisers. It was also a great privilege to speak at the pro-Palestine rally in the city on yesterday, and I wish to acknowledge that this is the 102nd rally, which is the longest continuing pro-Palestine rally, and few people know that actually Dandenong, residents in Dandenong, are the organisers of that each week and put tremendous effort. I want to specifically acknowledge the extraordinary effort by Mayad Ali, who is one of the key organisers and puts that on every week. We have the UN report categorically declaring what is happening in Palestine as a genocide, and we have figures, updated figures, of 800,000 Palestinians dead now. Whilst recognition is nice, it won't stop one child being slaughtered, so much more work needs to be done by the Australian government. My question tonight is regarding an article today in the Dandenong Star Journal in which we were told that community engagement sessions to promote social cohesion and community resilience will soon be taking place, and these will build the foundation for the council-led Thomas Street engagement. My question is, what is the purpose and cost of this consultation, including any external facilitation? And how will this build the foundation for the council-led Thomas Street engagement? My second question regarding this issue is, what safeguards will council implement to ensure this process promotes cohesion and does not escalate community conflict? Thank you.
Mr. Jari.
I'm sorry, Councillor Garrett, can I ask you through your mayor, can you repeat your question, please? I'm sorry.
Sorry, can you repeat the question, Councillor Garrett?
Just regarding the community consultation around Thomas Street.
Yes.
The question is around the cost and the purpose, the specific purpose, and how will the council ensure that it actually promotes cohesion and not conflict, not elevates conflict?
No, thank you, and sorry for not getting your question in the first place. So as you know, in terms of the costing, there are two part of the process, as we mentioned. So the first part that we are working closely in terms of the intercultural dialogue with City of KC, Cardenio and Home Affairs is no cost to our council because it's all supported by the Department of Home Affairs and by the Office for Social Cohesion. The next part that is then following that is something that we conduct as part of our committee engagement for specific the naming. And that is a very good question, Councillor Garrard, and probably that is one of the main reasons that even we started the process, as we told to the community from from end of April. We hadn't started the actual engagement yet, is exactly for the reason we want to make sure all of the foundations are in place. So we have created a working group from the three councils, Victoria Multicultural Commissioner, and there's a huge governance around that as a steering committee and the working group. And also all of the council, including us, which we have a huge participation in that, we are providing all of the connections that we have in the community. One of the main aims around this consultation or intercultural dialogue, if you would like to call it, is more around that we give voice to the people, women, young people, different groups, which usually probably in a very normal way of engagement, there is not a lot of opportunity. And that is why we are spending so much time and regular weekly meetings around that to make sure that we have all of the foundation and all of the cultural sensitivity around that. We also have, very soon we will talk with a few people that we recognize, and Casey and Cardinal are the same, that they have been involved with the community, working with the community to make sure we really understand this cultural nonsense around the cultural diversity and how we can really engage, as you mentioned, really bring people together. And that's why this engagement won't be through one session for all. It would be through the stages to make sure. And I'm really excited to share when we finalize that with Councillor around and the broader committee around how we are looking at that. And that is exactly the reason that we had to work on that more than we expected, to make sure everything is in place. That is really the start of the conversation and not conflict.
Thank you, Ms. Sajari. Councillor Garrard, thank you. Councillor Doe.
Thank you, Mayor. Sorry, just a second while I'm pulling my document up. So first of all, thank you to everyone who attended the opening of the Keysborough Community Hub. We had pretty much nearly all our councillors attend, which was fantastic. We had so many visitors come throughout the day, and I'm really excited to see how our community grows and is further enriched by this hub. It has only been opened for not even a few months, and every week that I'm there I can see that we've got a steady sort of increase of residents coming by, and the feedback that I hear from these residents is absolutely fantastic. People appreciate that there's a resource that they don't have to go all the way to Dandenong or Springvale to be able to borrow a book from a library or have a safe study place. And I will be officially there for catch-ups every week or two, and I'll be actually next at the Community Hub this Thursday evening. In addition, I also bumped into a visiting cyclist who shared praises regarding the signage and wayfinding along the Dandenong bike trail, particularly so during night where lack of light can make it even harder to navigate. And fantastic praise. They said compared to other parts of Melbourne, our signage was demonstrably better and actually helped to reduce the reliance on stopping the bike to check on their phone that they were heading in the right direction. And the reason I wanted to share the specific feedback is that it highlights the success of our wayfinding strategy. It reflects thoughtful design, the community input, and effective collaboration. It also underscores the importance of small infrastructure elements and enhancing user experience and safety, especially for visitors that are unfamiliar with our area. This also coincided with the Eastern Transport Coalition meeting I attended recently in the Yarra Ranges, which really highlighted the value of investing in active and public transport infrastructure. As your councillor, I will continue to advocate for the completion of the Jering Trail missing link between Yarraman and Dandenong Station and supporting the community campaign for the improved 828 bus services. With the upcoming election, this is also an opportunity for both residents and fellow councillors to advocate with their MPs for long-term projects such as the rebuild of Dandenong Station, bus route reviews and alignments, and improved taxi and rideshare services, just to name a few. I've also met with a variety of residents regarding their concerns about roads in my ward, and I'd like to thank our road safety team for their contribution and success in obtaining some approvals for our road projects under the state government funding scheme for safer roads. There's more to come in the future from Martin Halden and his team, but I just wanted to appreciate and acknowledge all the work they've done so far. As a further update, I also attended the Not in Our Name meeting regarding the emergency services levy, the Young Councillors Network meeting, where we meet with councillors across Victoria that are under the age of 40 to help support each other, and also in terms of navigating council life, especially as a new councillor. In addition, many of us also attended the Multicultural Gala. I know for myself personally, I connected with so many inspirational individuals of different backgrounds on that night and felt a lot of strength and empowerment through that event. So it was an event that I had somewhat low expectations of, as I'd never attended before, but it was a fantastic opportunity to attend, and thank you so much for the privilege to be able to do so. I'd also like to give a bit of a shout out for the Noble Park Community Centres Manager, Grizel, who recently, along with their team, organised the fundraising dinner for that centre. For the residents that have not been to any of their programs or visited the centre, I highly recommend doing so. It is an absolute privilege to have something like this available in our community, and we are really lucky. And so I wanted to thank the team there at the Noble Park Community Centre. I'd also like to say thank you to the warm community from the Keysborough Learning Centre, whose AGM I was privileged to also attend. They're doing fantastic work within our communities, and I invite the community to read up on their extremely expansive annual report. And the reason why it's so expansive is because they do so much in our community. So highly recommend giving that a read. It was just released a couple of days ago online. Outside of this, I do want to just have a quick congratulations to all those that were involved in the Children's Latin Festival this past weekend that was attended by our mayor. And I'd also like to give a bit of a shout out to Councillor, who actually my understanding was that she actually helped a lot from that side as well, in terms of the planning and putting a lot of effort into that. But again, thank you so much to the other councillors who were able to make this event. And yeah, I think in whole, I feel incredibly privileged and incredibly grateful to be in our amazing community. The events, our organisations, there's just so much, I think, that we need to take a moment to really recognise how lucky we are to have these. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Councillor Doe. Thank you for that passion. And I can tell you that as a new councillor, I still have that passion. And I'll read out my report after in a couple of minutes, but it's wonderful to hear your passion. So thank you for your report. Councillor Dunn.
Thank you very much, Mayor. I'd also just like to echo the comments Councillor Doe made about the Noble Park Community Centre dinner dance. The centre provides absolutely incredible and valuable services to so many vulnerable members of our community, and it was great to see that their fundraiser was a success. Like many people here tonight, I was also privileged to have attended the launch of the Keysborough Community Hub. I think it was one of those days that reminded me why I love our community so much, and it reminded us why we're involved. The atmosphere, the vibrance of the day was incredible, and I can't wait to see the impacts of a community hub like this on future generations, particularly for young people today. I wanted to thank everyone that was involved in making that project a success, from the engineers, the planners, the architects, to the childcare workers, the volunteers, the local advocates, for working so hard and for making that dream a reality. Just yesterday as well, the Noble Park Family Fun Day. Unfortunately, the weather wasn't as ideal, but it was still a very well attended event. I thought it seems to get a bigger and bigger crowd every year. And I wanted to just give a shout out to the Amplify youth leaders for all their hard work in making sure that the day ran smoothly. I wanted to thank all the community organisations that were involved, and of course all the council workers who worked on a Sunday to ensure that the event went smoothly. Just one question from me tonight, Mayor, to the relevant officer, just regarding the Lone Pine at Noble Park RSL. There's been some local interest, and we're just looking for some clarity as to whether that Lone Pine will be replaced, and whether there was a timeline for that at all. Thank you.
Mr. Feiss?
I'm happy to
Mr. Manivesagasavam?
Yes. Thank you for your question. Yes, you're right. So the council officers were monitoring that tree's health for 2 years now, and finally we identified back in June it's died. So that's why that's got removed. At that time, we did notify Noble Park RSL. However, I do acknowledge that we could have done more to communicate better with the members. However, we are closely working with the Noble Park RSL at the moment to replace that tree. So we have a number of options, but we are closely working with the Noble Park RSL to find out what's the best solution for them and find the tree species that relevant. So it's hard to give you a timeline at the moment, but once we work through that options, happy to provide further update.
Thank you, Mr. Manivesagasavam. Thank you, Councillor Dan. Councillor Formoso?
Thanks, Mayor. And although we've been celebrating a lot of incredible milestones and events happening in the city of Greater Dandenong, I just wanted to make note and mention of something quite horrific that took place on Saturday, the September 6th. Whilst we were all celebrating the opening of the Keysborough South Community Hub, I was also celebrating my son's 13th birthday with family and friends, laughing, sharing cake, enjoying what should be the carefree joy of young lives. Mayor, I flicked through the TV very quickly just to check the footy scores. Unfortunately, what I saw next will stay with me forever. The names Dao Akuang and Chol Achiek appeared on the screen. 2 boys, 15 and 12 years old, taken from this world in the most horrific, senseless way. And suddenly I wasn't watching just another news story. I was seeing children the same age as my own, boys who, just like our children, were growing up, dreaming, playing sport, going to school, building lives, and now they're gone. I don't think anything has actually rocked me so deeply as what I saw that evening. I'm a mother, I'm a teacher, I'm a community advocate, and I'm completely shattered. Since this horrific event, I've been speaking with members of our community, Mayor, many who knew Dao and Chol and their families. These were not troubled boys. They were not in a gang. They were not on the wrong path. They were good kids, loved, supported, involved in sport and school, just like so many of the children that we know. Some of the language that I've seen and heard in response to this tragedy, particularly in the media and online, has been absolutely disgusting. This is not a Sudanese problem. This is not an African problem. This is a human problem, a community problem, a societal tragedy that demands empathy, not judgment, unity, not division. My heart breaks for the families who are living every parent's worst nightmare. For the community who raised these boys, and for the first responders who had to attend to something so heinous and so unimaginable. Mayor, tonight I ask this council and our community to do what is right and just. I ask that we stand together, not just in mourning, but in solidarity. Tonight I ask this council to stand for a minute's silence in honour of Dao Akuang and Chol Achiek. And I respectfully ask this council to send a formal letter of support to the families, to the community leaders, and to the organisations supporting them to show that Dandenong stands with them in this dark time. Thank you, Mayor.
Can I ask for 1 minute silence, please? Thank you.
Thanks, Mayor. That's all from me.
Thank you, Councillor Formoso, and we'll send those letters. If we can pass on the information, or as we can find them, we'll do that as soon as we can. Thank you. Councillors, over the last few weeks, I attended the Greater South East Melbourne GSEM meeting with the Honourable Gabrielle Williams, also with our CEO, Ms Jackie Wetherill. I attended the official opening of the Lindale Secondary College Sports Precinct Pavilion upgrade and canteen and outdoor area, which is now a fantastic area where they used to have their kitchen upstairs, and now it's on the ground level. It's much more convenient, and it was lovely to be there to open that facility. I attended the ONAM Festival hosted by the Melbourne Malali Foundation at Springvale City Hall. I actually attended quite a few ONAM festivals, so I'll go through the list. I also attended the elimination final in the National Premier League Victoria, Dandenong Thunder and Dandenong City, and it was a victory to Dandenong City, 1-0, and it was great to see Dandenong City go all the way to the grand final. From 6th position, unfortunately, they did lose the grand final, but that is a great outcome to have 2 Dandenong teams in the National Premier League in the finals. Later that evening, I also attended the Premier's Multicultural Gala Dinner 2025, theme Harmony in Diversity. And I'm just going to let Councillor Doe know that every multicultural party or dinner is very, very well organised, and it's a joy to attend. So I'm glad your expectations are now much higher attending that event. I would also like to also attended the thank you service for Vietnam Veterans Day at the Dandenong RSL, where I was received this that goes like that, which I'll be placing in my office. Thank you to the Vietnamese Australian community for that. I also attended the next day to Canberra, attended the meetings at Parliament to highlight and discuss the key issues related to the Greater Dandenong South East Melbourne, and also Back Your Neighbour campaign. I also then on the Friday attended the meetings about your Back Your Neighbour campaign and participated in the Council of Capital City Lord Mayor's Network reception hosted by the Lord Mayor of Sydney, the Honourable Clover Moore, AO, who is a remarkable woman. If you ever got a chance to look at her CV and what she's accomplished in state government in New South Wales, but also as the Mayor of Sydney. At one point she was the Mayor of Sydney and held the balance of power in the government in New South Wales. And when I looked up her CV, she's nearly 80 and still going strong. So what a remarkable woman and her achievements, and to actually meet her and discuss about Back Your Neighbour, which she's a very big fan and supporter of, was really great. I also attended the official opening of the new Keysborough Community Hub. What a fantastic day, and looking around the room with the councillors, this is what we work hard for in the community, to deliver vital community assets for our community. People always say to me, you've been a councillor for so long, 20 years, you know, what keeps on driving you? I always say to people, it shouldn't matter what your postcode is, and the services that a council or a municipality can deliver to their community has to be, doesn't matter where you live, to the best of the quality. And I can honestly say, being connected with most councils in Victoria and Australia, we actually punch well above our weight. We have the beautiful Keysborough Community Hub, the beautiful Springvale Community Hub. We have a beautiful Dandenong Library. We're building a Dandenong Wellbeing Centre. We've got NPAC. We've got Tatterson Park. We've got the Drum Theatre. We have spent hundreds and hundreds of millions in the last couple of decades, where most municipalities are struggling to survive. They've got poor aquatic centres, poor libraries, poor infrastructure. But I can tell you, the City of Greater Dandenong punches well above their weight, and it was a very proud moment to officially open the Keysborough Community Hub, which was on time and under budget. In these times where everything seems to be running over budget, we were under budget, and that's a testament to the council staff that continue to work in day out to make sure that our community has the very, very best. And so well done to the team, and please pass on my congratulations to the community services team. And also Sanjay, to the team that helped build the community hub. Fantastic effort, and it was a very, very proud moment for our community. I also attended the Onam Festival and Golden Jubilee celebration of the Malali Association of Victoria, which I was a special guest and received this trophy, which will be in our trophy cabinet. I also attended the Tanada Katha, which means Tale of the Departed Souls, the full-length play in Bengali language that was at the Drums Theatre, which was from the Actomania, and I received that, which will also go into our trophy cabinet upstairs. Thank you to them, and thank you. It was a packed house, so it was great to be at the Drum Theatre. I also attended the Noble Park Community Centre fundraising dinner dance, which was the inaugural one, and former Mayor and Councillor Ros Blades, who leads the Noble Park Community Centre, and her team put a humongous job, which raised some valuable funds for the community, where over 1,000 people go to the community hub in the community centre in Noble Park week in, week out, and they do a fantastic job. So it was great to see the inaugural dance. People had a lot of fun, and even Councillor O'Reilly and Councillor Doe were on the dance floor. So and they can both dance. Unfortunately, I couldn't be on the dance floor. I've got 2 left feet, so it was a great night. I also attended the Cambodia Vision Buddhist flower ceremony at the Wat Buddharangsi Temple to raise some funds. Cambodia Vision raises funds to help less fortunate people in Cambodia. So, sight is very important, and unfortunately, many people in Cambodia don't have the doctors that could treat them, and so the team in Springvale raised money in Australia to support those people in Cambodia. I also attended the grand opening of Reza Tiles in Greens Road, Dandenong South. What a remarkable story. Reza, a refugee, arrived in Australia with nothing, and today he's employing tens of people, running a successful business, who has been running a successful business for many years, which outgrew his old location in Dandenong South, opened up a new location, and we're talking a business that's a multi-million-dollar business now. So refugees are contributing to part of the economy and doing a great job at that. I also attended another Onam celebration hosted by the Cranbourne Malayali community. You say, why is the Cranbourne Malayali doing it in Dandenong? They were. We hosted it at the St John's Secondary College, and I was invited to be part of the opening there as well. This is a job that I, really enjoy, and sometimes you go to places like the Dandenong North Primary School to talk to students about democracy and the role of local government. I think I had about 100 students, and for about 30 minutes I answered probably about 50 questions, and when I look back and think about those questions, they would be questions that you'd think most adults would ask. So I think the kids in school these days understand the democracy and how we've got 3 forms of government, and it's always good to go to speak to students at primary schools. I also attended another GSEM meeting with the Honourable Claire O'Neill, with a few other mayors, and also Jackie Weatherall, our CEO, was there as well. The City of Greater Dandenong Audit and Risk Committee meetings we held every quarter, which go for about 4 hours with Councillor Garrard. I'm happy to say that this year I attended 4 out of 4 meetings, so it's probably the first time I've attended every meeting in the Audit Risk Committee, because I tell you what, sitting there for 4 years, they're very high level, high tense meetings, and you could sort of lose track sometimes. So it was good to be there as well, and very engaged with Councillor Garrard. It was good meetings that we had. I also attended the Cambodian Ancestor Celebration hosted by the Cambodian Association of Victoria. I also attended the VASA Father's Day lunch celebrations with Councillor Leh. Always wonderful to visit the VASA senior citizens who do fantastic work within our community, and they have hundreds and hundreds of members, and they meet every week. We had the special citizenship ceremony in celebration of Citizenship Day only last week right here. that's another part of my job that I love, being able to hand over citizenship to new citizens. And as the theme goes, welcome home. Also, I attended the Make-A-Wish Foundation Grand Final Charity Lunch, helping to grant life-changing wishes for seriously ill children. The Greater Dandenong Chamber of Commerce hosted that and raised plenty of money. And it was great to meet local football legend Dermot Brereton last week and had a chat to him about the final series, and he actually tipped Geelong. So for somebody who's won 5-day premierships, 5-night premierships, I think his tip is probably valuable, and I'm supporting Geelong in the grand final this week as they are a Victorian team, and it'll be interesting to see who's going to win anyway. I also attended the opening ceremony of the 2025 Children Lantern Festival right in Buckingham Avenue. My understanding that was the first time that event happened in Buckingham Avenue, and it was a great day to celebrate the Lantern Festival. I also attended the Noble Park Family Fun Day yesterday. It was very cold, but it was well attended because in past years they had it at different locations. This time they had it on a football field. It was really spread out. There was many activities happening, and it was well participated, and community groups, like somebody that's sitting in our chamber today was sitting there, hat and scarf and gloves and working for the local community, and we thank all those volunteers for their contribution and also for the event, which is growing in numbers each year, and it was great to attend yesterday. I also attended the 5th Annual SERA Conference hosted by Zola Kadri Trakwa, held at the Keysborough Turkish Islamic and Cultural Centre. Just to let councillors know and people watching, the Australian International Aid will be having their Friday prayer for Palestine in Harmony Square. Everybody's welcome, and that I think will start at about 12 o'clock and go till about 2:30. So pray for Palestine in Harmony Square this Friday, hosted by the Australian International Aid. And that's all from me, councillors. Item 7, urgent business. Is there any urgent business? No. Item 8, close of business. I declare the meeting closed at 8:48 p.m. Thank you very much and have a great evening.